Happy Aloha Friday, and thank you for watching This Is Now. We start with a developing story on Maui where a shark attacked a surfer at Wai'ehu Beach Park. It happened shortly after 7 this morning. Sources tell us the victim was sitting on his board when the shark swam up and bit his leg. Now, witnesses who heard the victim's screams say other surfers helped him swim back to shore. MPD confirms that officers applied a tourniquet to the surfer's leg before medics and fire personnel arrived. Now, the victim is a 61-year-old man from Wailuku. He's now hospitalized in critical condition at Maui Memorial Medical Center. Wai'ehu Beach Park is now closed and lifeguards are patrolling the waters. Meanwhile, also on Maui, after the devastating wildfires, the county is updating its technology to improve public safety and emergency management. The Maui Emergency Management Agency has awarded a 4-year contract to Genesis Inc., a California-based company that provides protective communication systems and solutions. It will equip MEMA with 2 software platforms. One uses intelligent zones to quickly identify precise areas for evacuation so the public can receive clear notifications and warnings. The other provides real-time traffic data and analytics, which will help ensure evacuation routes are clear and safe. Officials say the technology is expected to launch in January and will be used on all islands in Maui County. Also happening on Maui, more modular homes for wildfire survivors will be on the move today. The Department of Transportation is warning of traffic delays as a caravan takes the homes from Kahului Harbor to the state's Kala'iola housing site in Lahaina. It starts at 10 p.m. and is expected to be done by midnight. Another transport is set for tomorrow night. More homes will be moved to FEMA's Kilohana site in Lahaina. That'll happen between Saturday and next Wednesday from 8 to 10 p.m. In the final lead up to Election Day, Vice President Harris and former President Trump are holding dueling rallies in the battleground state of Wisconsin. Now, the two candidates are laying out very different visions for the future and urging their supporters to vote. Bree Jackson has the latest.
Only 4 days left for voters to decide who will lead the country for the next 4 years.
My first priority, which will be probably the package of bills, is about bringing down the cost of living.
Vice President Harris and former President Trump both campaigning in Wisconsin, hoping to capture the state's 10 electoral college votes. The Harris team also pouncing on this comment Mr. Trump made about former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it.
This must be disqualifying.
The Trump campaign responding, stating warmongers like Liz Cheney are very quick to start wars and send other Americans to fight them rather than go into combat themselves. Going on to blame the backlash on fake media outrage and calling it an attempt to interfere in the election, echoing the former president's efforts to sow doubt. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies are warning of Russian election interference.
This is all about spewing disinformation designed to undermine trust in our elections and to sow partisan discord. And we cannot allow our foreign adversaries to have a vote in our democracy.
Well over 60 million Americans have early voted, and with time running out, the candidates are pushing to get more supporters to the polls on November 5th. And as part of a new strategy to combat foreign election interference, intelligence agencies and the Justice Department are moving faster to expose disinformation. They're also seizing web domains and issuing indictments. U.S. officials acknowledge there's no magic bullet that can defeat disinformation campaigns, but hope to help limit its impact. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Meanwhile, a bipartisan group of former elections officials say local, state, and federal governments are prepared to keep the 2024 election secure. The group points to more than 66 million people who have voted early as evidence that systems are working well. They also say they anticipated having to tackle incidents like the ballot drop boxes that were ignited in Oregon and Washington state. The more pressing issue, they say, are ramped up efforts in these final days of the election to spread disinformation online, which a majority of Americans report seeing.
People should understand that these only affect how people think about the election. They're not affecting the actual infrastructure. Our systems are safe and secure. The hardware is safe and secure.
They say Americans should not expect to know results election night or even the morning after. Elections officials and representatives from both parties are in agreement. It's more important to count votes accurately than to know results quickly. We're getting new details on the investigation into a gruesome killing of a Montana camper. Now, police initially thought it was a bear attack, but now they say it was murder and a suspect has been arrested. Carter Evans has more.
When Dustin Jersom was brutally attacked and killed at a Montana campsite earlier this month, friends who found him thought he'd been mauled by a bear. But as investigators combed the crime scene, they say the evidence suggested murder.
The detectives collected DNA from a beer can inside of Jersom's tent and sent it to the Montana State Crime Lab.
Gallatin County Sheriff Dan Springer says that DNA on the beer can was a match for 41-year-old Darren Abbey, who was out on parole at the time of the killing and was later arrested.
This individual confessed to the murder of Dustin Jersom.
Investigators don't have a motive. They say it was a chance encounter while the suspect was looking for a place to camp for the night.
As he approached the site, he realized someone was staying there. He stated Dustin welcomed him to the campsite and offered him a beer. At some point, this individual struck Dustin Jersom with a piece of solid wood, stabbed him in the neck with a screwdriver, and ultimately hit him with the axe.
The Sheriff's Department also noted several items, including an axe, shotgun, revolver, and cooler, were missing from the scene.
This individual removed items from the campsite he believed had evidence that could tie him to the crime. This is the behavior of a guilty subject who thought they could get away with murder.
Earlier this month, Jersom's sister described her younger brother while choking back tears.
We lost our brother, our son, our uncle, our best friends, and our dad in the most unimaginable way. He was a loving, helpful, and adoring father who in no way deserved this.
Carter Evans, CBS News.
The Hawaii man known as a master of disguise has been sentenced for escape years after he walked away from work furlough. Tyler Adams will serve 5 years on top of those he was already serving for theft. He moved to other states and had multiple aliases and committed other crimes. The Attorney General's office asked for consecutive sentences because of his history of fraud. Adams claimed he left Hawaii because he was being assaulted and extorted in Halava.
He not only left the jurisdiction, but he reoffended. He got subsequent convictions in Texas and California. He didn't turn himself in. He was gone over 4 years.
I was afraid for my life, acting impulsively. If I had to do it all over, I would have. I now find myself in a state of remorseful despair, realizing how far one can stray from oneself when all you do is try to survive. And I'm so sorry.
His attorney said Adams won't be getting out of prison. He is wanted by the feds for other crimes, including border violations and murder. He is accused of killing his girlfriend, whose body was found in Mexico. A man is dead after a motorcycle crash on Oahu's North Shore. It happened just before 5 p.m. yesterday on Kamehameha Highway near Kenui Road in Pupukea. This is near the Rock Piles surf spot. According to HPD, the 26-year-old man had been trying to pass the driver in front of him. That driver, a 27-year-old female, attempted to make a left turn when she was broadsided by the motorcyclist. They were both taken to the hospital where the man died from his injuries. He was not wearing a helmet at the time. The woman is expected to be okay. Police say speed does appear to be a factor. On Maui, a woman is fighting for her life after an overturned crash in Ha'iku. It happened yesterday morning at around 6 on West Kuiaha Road. We're told the 44-year-old's SUV went off the road, hit a fence, and rolled over. And it came to rest on its roof. Miraculously, a 2-year-old girl inside was not hurt. The driver is at Maui Memorial for care. Authorities are looking into what led up to the crash. State investigators are on the hunt for a cat killer at Ke'ehi Smallboat Harbor. They say in the past 2 weeks, the bodies of 8 cats have turned up with unnatural injuries. Investigators say some were decapitated, others were shot.
We're working very closely with DoCare to try to address this, to find out who any of these individuals are that are causing this cruel and inhumane acts on these animals.
If you have information on the cat killings, report them on the DLNR tip app or call DoCare's hotline at the number at the bottom of your screen. The Board of Education has decided not to cut funding for its Learning Center programs. As Mahealani Richardson reports, the proposal would have hurt theater, robotics, and other after-school classes.
The BOE faced a torrent of criticism from students, teachers, and lawmakers. Tonight, student advocates are celebrating a victory after a last-minute campaign. About potential bad news. Why make trouble? Why make scenes? Last night, Mililani High School performing arts students watched themselves on the news, fighting to save statewide learning centers.
I was really shocked.
Today, they took school buses downtown to testify before a vote at the Board of Education meeting for a proposal that would have cut $1.7 million from the DOE budget for 29 learning centers, which help pay for after-school theater, robotics, agriculture, and other programs.
We're not just numbers on a sheet. We affect society, and that's what we're here to do.
State Representative Amy Peruso called the proposed budget cut misguided and irresponsible. After widespread criticism, board members decided against the cut, saying its proposal was part of an effort to give more power over spending at the school level.
The board feels that this is not the appropriate time to change the way the learning centers are funded.
2 of the students are in student government and know the process. They've testified before. For the rest, this is a first-time experience.
A lot of us have never done anything like this before. Like, this is my first time even being at this building and doing anything like this, and I think that's really cool.
Our main message is that these learning center programs are really integral to our success and our community at the high school.
This group is relieved that arts, robotics, and other beloved programs are saved for this lesson in advocacy outside the classroom. Now, the BOE says even though it decided against the cut, it generally believes that schools themselves should decide the economic, fiscal, and academic destiny of each school. Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
People in Waikiki are used to congestion. Now the city has a new plan that would make it easier for some, but possibly harder for others. It's a new lane just for buses and deliveries. Ben Gutierrez shows us where it's going in and why some residents are skeptical.
Starting next week, the city is going to begin work on changing the right lane of Kuhio Avenue all the way here from Kapahulu into a transit lane only. It'll take about a month to make the change in the westbound direction from Kapahulu to Launiu Street.
You know, people might say, why that corridor? And just for the very reason people think that it is a very busy corridor, that's exactly why we want to do it.
The city's Transportation Services Department says during rush hour, only 44% of people traveling on Kuhio Avenue are in a passenger vehicle. The rest are walking, biking, or riding either a city bus or private bus carrier or tour bus.
In both directions, we're renting a bus more than once a minute during the peaks, right? And we, at that point, without any kind of priority, without any kind of lanes, the bus will be getting in the way of ourselves.
The transit lane will be similar to one that opened in 2020 in the right lane of King Street through Chinatown and downtown.
Our ongoing study has proven out that we've actually improved travel times on the bus by about 20 to 30%.
The city says private tour bus companies and delivery trucks will also be able to use the Kuhio transit lane, but that will leave all remaining vehicles with just one lane.
I think no. I mean, it's already congested most times, so I think that'll make it more congested.
I'm all about, the people and public transportation, and I love my Holo card, but I do think it's already very congested on this street, so it might make it a little bit more difficult for people trying to drive around.
And Kuhio gets a lot more congested when Kalakaua Avenue is closed. Over this year alone, the city is allowing companies and nonprofits to close the main drag about 30 times.
Currently, the state that Waikiki's in is hard to get in, hard to get out, especially if they have those festivals every weekend. That's going to be adding on to that transit lane, cutting out a lane of traffic going this way and that way.
But the city is confident and claims the plan is reversible and changeable.
It's something that is a very effective addition if it works as we planned, but we can make pretty easy changes if something goes not according to plan or not according to our expectations.
City officials are also thinking about putting in an eastbound transit lane, but there's no timeline for that. In Waikiki, Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
The state is moving ahead with a framework agreement on the redevelopment of Aloha Stadium. Officials accepted the lone bidder, Aloha Halawa District Partners, which includes numerous companies with experience in stadium construction, management, housing, and commercial development. Community outreach will begin soon. The group expects the stadium to be ready for UH's 2028 college football season. The Honolulu Fire Department has a new helicopter to fight fires and conduct search and rescue operations. HFD's new twin-engine Bell 429 helicopter costs $10.6 million. It can fly farther and longer than the department's 3 single-engine models and also has a larger cabin and double the horsepower. That also allows it to lift 260 gallons of water and make multiple drops with one bucket versus one drop of 96 gallons.
You put 3 times the amount of water on a fire in the same span of time, that's going to greatly impact our ability to quickly control and manage wildfires. If the weather deteriorates to where we can't see outside, this helicopter is equipped for IFR flight with a single pilot, which means we can safely navigate with just one pilot, even when we can't see.
The chopper also has a hoist that can lift 600 pounds, so it can lower a rescuer and lift them back into the helicopter instead of leaving them suspended by a rope. Training is underway with the aircraft expected to be in use by June. All right, here's a live look outside at Hilo. There's some showers being reported over there. We're going to have your full forecast after this quick break.
Aloha on this Friday. Even though it's a little damp this morning, a drier weather trend will be taking over later today through tomorrow before another round of rain is due in early next week. So a little soggy this morning, especially for windward areas. But remember, all this rain is very beneficial. Many parts of the state still suffering from some level of drought, so whatever rain will coming in will definitely help with that. And the rain is moving along quickly because we have these nice breezy trade winds. So rainfall totals will be on the light side, even though we're going to start out pretty soggy this morning. But as the morning progresses, drier conditions will take over, especially for leeward sides. High temperatures again approaching the upper 80s. It's going to be a beautiful day today. Standard textbook trade wind weather stuff. And as far as the surf, we will start to see a big swell showing up later this afternoon through tonight, peaking over the weekend with advisory levels. So high surf advisory likely posted probably tonight, most definitely tomorrow as that swell gets bigger. East shores will remain choppy for the next several days as those trade winds continue. However, the trade winds will be backing off over, probably by the early part of next week. We're still looking at some pretty nice conditions through Saturday. Then starting on Sunday, a kind of semi-soggy trade wind weather pattern sets up. We could even see some bouts of heavy rain maybe Tuesday into Wednesday for some areas of the state.
Hey, happy Aloha Friday, everyone, and happy post-Halloween. Kyle and Davis here in the Digital Center
November
with your
1st.
weekly sports update. That is right, Kyle. Lots to talk about. Quickly, UH heading to Fresno State tomorrow. Very good team. And Fresno, tough defense.
Tough defense. One of the best in the nation when it comes to having defensive players. Former UH DB Cam Lockridge is playing lights out right now for the Bulldogs. So it's going to be a tough test for a team that, showed off a great run game against Nevada last weekend. But now they need to put it together to get the run and shoot fully going. And it should be an interesting one. We'll see how this tough defense and how UH responds to the Bulldogs.
Well, we both know how UH does on the road, so it's going to be a tough one. Hopefully they can pull through, finally get a win on the road, so good luck to UH. Let's move on now to high school sports.
I got to talk about high school volleyball because tonight is the semifinals of the HHSA state tournament in the D1. It's a who's who of the top four. So in the first semifinal game, you have number 1 seeded Iolani taking on Kapolei, who was unranked in this playoff bracket and made it all the way back to the semis. And then on the other side, you have the undisputed OA champions Mauna Loa taking on the reigning state champions in Kamehameha. So it's a really big, colossal clash for the final two, to see who will be the final two that are going to be playing at BYUH on Saturday. And then in the D2, you have a high-powered Hawaii Baptist taking on Kapa'a out of Kauai. And then on the other side, you have Les Jardins, another formidable ILH team taking on Hawaii Prep out of the Big Island. So it's going to be 4 colossal matchups in high school volleyball, all culminating on Championship Saturday over at BYUH at the Cannon Activity Center. And I can't wait. We'll have all of those highlights throughout the weekend here on air and online.
Wow, lots going on. Lots of sports going on. I'm excited for that Mililani matchup for football. Also because Mililani's finest is sitting right next to me.
Okay. Well,
so for more information, for more about sports, check out our podcast, HNN Overtime, hosted by Kyle Sienna and I. For Kyle and I, happy Aloha Friday, everyone.
The first Dodgers parade in nearly 40 years is happening, and before the sun was even up, fans started to line the downtown Los Angeles parade route ready to cheer on their World Series champions. Players are riding double-decker buses through the streets of downtown LA, celebrating in the city's first Dodgers World Series parade since the team defeated the Oakland Athletics in 1988. Along with the parade, the team will host a ticketed event at the same time. The Dodgers Stadium Championship celebration will feature food and live entertainment, with team gear being sold at the stadium. With Halloween now behind us, retailers are looking ahead to the winter holidays and hoping to muster up some magic. Now, this comes amid challenges between a tense presidential election and a shortened holiday shopping season. Lee Waldman explains.
According to the National Retail Federation, 2024 holiday spending is expected to reach a new record high this year. It's a welcome sign for retailers with less time between Thanksgiving and Christmas. While parents are picking away at their children's Halloween candy castaways, retailers are working to get ready for the holiday shopping season.
We have always seen that the winter holidays have been central to both consumers and to the retail industry. This year is certainly no exception.
Catherine Cullen with the National Retail Federation says they expect shoppers to spend a record $902 per person on average this year on seasonal items like gifts, food, decorations, and cards. That's up $27 from last year.
Celebrations and these special moments throughout the year have really become a priority for them, even when things are tough.
Every year, consumers are faced with stressors, but this year, the NRF asked if the election was factoring into shopping habits. For most, the answer was no, but some are looking for retail therapy.
If anything, they might be looking to holiday shopping as a little bit of an escape.
Meanwhile, retailers themselves are up against a shorter time clock with 5 fewer calendar days this year between Thanksgiving and Christmas to entice customers.
We know that many consumers will have started browsing or buying, at least doing some of their research even before November, while the bulk of spending really does still kick off in November or December.
Even with the shortened time frame, the NRF expects holiday shopping to grow between 2.5% and 3.5% from last year, totaling between a whopping $979.5 billion and $989 billion.